The Niger coup. Since 2021, the Sahel region of West Africa, described as the coup belt of Africa, has continued to experience coups and counter-coups. In particular, there were coups in Guinea, Mali, and Sudan in 2021, as well as in Burkina Faso in January and September 2022. Maybe that was why Ahmed Bola Tinubu, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, who was appointed chairman of ECOWAS on 9th July 2023, warned that ECOWAS will not allow another coup in the region and will take up these issues with the African Union and Western countries. However, on 26th July 2023, another coup took place, and this time it was in Niger Republic. President Bazoum of Niger Republic was ousted from power by a military junta in a military coup d'etat led by General Abdurrahman Chiani, who proclaimed himself the new leader. General Chiani was until then the Presidential Guard's forces commander. The push was announced in the early hours after the Presidential Guards closed the country's borders, suspended state institutions, and declared a curfew. This was the fifth military coup d'etat since the country gained independence from France in 1960, apart from other unsuccessful attempts. Following the Nigerian coup, several members of the international community as well as ECOWAS countries condemned the change in government. The question then comes to mind, what were the reasons for the coup? The rising cost of living, government incompetence and corruption, as well as rising insecurity in regards to jihadism, were some of the reasons given by the junta for the uprising. In recent times, the country has suffered from Islamic insurgencies led by Al-Qaeda, Islamic State, and Boko Haram, despite its military receiving training and logistical support from the United States, France, and Turkey, which have bases in the country. Analysts, however, opine that there were other remote causes resulting from the attempt of the Bazoum government to curtail the Presidential Guard by scrutinizing its budgets. On 30th July 2023, the ECOWAS gave a one-week deadline to the Nigerian coup leaders to hand over power back to ousted President Bazoum or face international sanctions and or use of force. ECOWAS leaders also talked of immediate enforcement of a no-fly zone over the country for all commercial flights and closure of borders with Niger. Other sanctions announced include the suspension of all commercial and financial transactions between its member states and Niger Republic, as well as the freezing of assets and travel restrictions for the coupists. The Nigerian government, whose leader is the ECOWAS chairman, cut off the power supply to Niger, enforced a no-fly zone, and began mobilization of troops as an arrowhead for ECOWAS forces to launch an attack on Niger. Unfortunately, the Senate of the Nigerian Parliament turned down the application sent by the President to be given approval to invade Niger. Rather, the Senate recommended that diplomatic means and dialogue should be pursued. Nonetheless, ECOWAS is determined and has declared to restore democracy in Niger and has approved the setting up of a standby military force to do so. The deadline given by ECOWAS heads of state for the junta to hand over power back to Bazoum has since elapsed. Many African heads of states, and in particular the African Union, have rejected the use of military force canvassed by ECOWAS and rather emphasized dialogue. The African Union nonetheless suspended Niger from all its activities. The World Bank, the United Nations, the European Union, France, and the United States equally condemned the coup. In his own reaction, the United States refused to describe it as a coup, but rather saw it as an effort to seize power by force and to disrupt the constitution. This was to ensure the non-withdrawal of economic aid and military assistance, including existing drone and military bases in Niger. Similarly, the EU and France suspended all security cooperation agreements with the country and have withheld financial and development aid to Niger. France and ECOWAS have continued to recognize Bazoum as the sole legitimate and legal president of the Niger Republic. On the other hand, the transitional governments of Mali and Burkina Faso have expressed their fraternal solidarity with the Nigerians and have warned against foreign military intervention in Niger, saying that to do so would be a declaration of war against their nations. They rejected to enforce ECOWAS sanctions, referring to them as illegitimate, illegal, and inhumane, and rather stated that the Nigerians have full responsibility to take their destiny into their own hands to ensure their full sovereignty. Also, the Italian Foreign Minister Antonio Tajani expressed opposition to Western military intervention in Niger, as any attempt will be perceived as a new colonization. This coup attempt did not come without sanctions. Some of the other sanctions include the cancellation by the Central Bank of West African States, BCEAO planned 30 billion CFA bond issuance by Niger, scheduled for 31st July in the West African regional debt market. Also, the World Bank suspended disbursements to Niger until further notice. As a way to profile a solution, Human Rights Watch has called on the Nigerian military to give a timeline for a return to civilian rule, as a way to uphold citizens' rights to democratic tenets. As of this report, negotiations are still on to resolve the matters arising, even though ECOWAS is still poised for military intervention. The military junta, according to BBC News, has announced that the ousted leader Bazoum and his foreign accomplices will be charged and tried for high treason. Also, in response to further pressure on the junta has proposed a 3-year transition to power, but ECOWAS has rejected it, saying it is completely unacceptable. The UN also stated that Bazoum's prosecution has no legal basis. My YouTube friends, much as we do not subscribe to a forceful takeover of government by way of coup d'etat, it is our view that military intervention will escalate the crisis in the Niger Republic. We believe that the Nigerian people should be allowed to choose their leaders as a way of taking their destiny into their own hands. If you found this video interesting, kindly subscribe and let us have your comments. Thank you.